Okay, so I figure let's unlock some more stuff here. Aeronautical engineering. There we go.
Milestone reached. Drones provide automated low-capacity aerial transport between drone stations. Stations need to be supplied with any kind of fuel for the drones to function. Fixit had several restrictions in place prohibiting creative use of drones. I have since removed those because I think no pioneer would ever misuse Fixit property right under their noses. Especially since everything is recorded.
I can't imagine what those restrictions might be. Okay, and now I've got to wait 10 minutes for the thing to return before I can unlock the next thing. I kind of forgot that fact. And it does its annoying little twirl thing. Alright, now for the next thing. Nuclear power. I forgot to get 2,000. Well, you know what, we'll do the next one then.
Milestone reached. The resource well pressurizer and extractor can harvest nitrogen, crude oil, and water from underground wells. Nitrogen, being a gas, does not need pumps for pipeline transportation. Fixit does not process most of your metrics, but I do. According to Fixit predictions, you are exploiting this planet with unexpected efficiency. They did always struggle to see the true potential of things. Nothing about you is unexpected to me, and therefore you are performing exactly as expected.
Yeah, well, that's good. Alright, now to get the concrete. Ooh, it's 15-minute wait this time. Okay. I forgot to make sure my recording hard drive is spun up before I hit the record button. Hopefully this will be fine. Unlike that spin there. So inefficient. Why not just come back? Why not just come down already facing the correct direction? Alright. Nuclear power. Jarsome.
Milestone reached. The nuclear power plant produces dangerous radioactive nuclear waste. Fixit reminds you that any extra limbs resulting from exposure to radiation are also contracted to work on project assembly. Fixit also reminds you that willful exposure to radiation will not result in any bonuses regardless of how many functional limbs it produces. Project part number 7, the magnetic field generator, should enter production as soon as possible. Any unnecessary delays will be noted.
Alrighty then. Now I've unlocked nuclear power, so it's time to finally build an oil power plant. Because I'm still coal. I'm still just going off coal here. Yes, now that I have drones, I can one base it a bit harder, actually. I'm probably going to set up a few drone ports here and there to move resources to my main base here. Like, this requires nitrogen gas. These require nitrogen gas. I don't even have the recipe for that yet. Okay, it's unlocked in this one. Okay. Yeah. Alright, I've been procrastinating. I need to stop procrastinating and start building the oil plant. Okay, so I think I'm going to build the oil power plant here. Now, I've been crunching numbers. Oh, I guess I should specify. The reason why I'm thinking of building the oil power plant here is there are 3 pure oil nodes just right here. And there's also a huge body of water which I can use to double it and make my fuel, which is good. Yes. Pure, and I believe... Wait. What are those 2? Are those temporary? It's not showing me. Maybe if I zoom in. Yeah, temporary. I mean, I've been there, so I don't know why I've got like 2 temporary there. But anyway, yeah, so... So there are 3 pure oil nodes here. At least 3 pure nodes here. I have no idea what temporary is, but we've got 3 pure nodes. Which is the highest grouping of crude oil, or pure crude oil nodes on the map. There's a total of 8 pure oil nodes. And I'd like to build pipelines. So there's like 2 pure oil nodes like over here. There's a pure oil node here, and then there's another couple of them up here. So I'd like to build 5 pipelines that just span the entire map to bring the oil here. So I have 8 full pipes of crude oil to work with, which will give me pretty much all the power I could want or need for quite some time. Now the thing though is to turn that into turbo fuel, just the regular turbo fuel recipe, which we can see down here. I was looking at both the resin heavy recipe versus the heavy oil heavy recipe, or you know, the one that produces a shit ton of resin versus the one that produces lots of heavy oil. The one that produces lots of heavy oil is better. Down here is basically what we want to look at here. So this is using standard recipe, and as you can see, for 600 of crude, it produces 1,333.33 turbo fuel, which is pretty good. But it uses 1,066.66666 forever compound coal, which is kind of a 1-to-1 for coal and sulfur. That would require basically a pure sulfur node and a pure coal node per pure crude node. Now, that's doable, but problem here though is sulfuric acid. Sulfuric acid is going to become very important in uranium processing. Going to need lots of it. So using almost all the sulfur for my turbo fuel is going to be bad. As much as I would actually prefer to use the standard turbo fuel recipe for this, that's going to use almost all the sulfur on the map. For the other recipe, the blended recipe, which requires coke, that is 480 sulfur for every pure crude oil node. Now it produces significantly less turbo, but is significantly lighter on the sulfur aspect. That's probably the way to go. Now, for the coke, when we include that, that means that I need an additional 120 crude, which is an overclocked normal oil node. I think this might be the way to go about this. Okay, so by my calculations, this new power plant is going to be really freaking big. So I'm building it over the void here, just to make sure that I have enough room. Based on my calculations, this platform that I have down there is about half what I'm going to need. Wow, that is actually kind of interesting how aggressive that optimization rendering is. Jeez. I mean, it's pretty amazing that it's able to know not to draw buildings there, but damn, that's really aggressive. Anyway, I need to stop playing with that. Based on my calculations, I'm actually going to need to double the length of this in that general direction. I think this direction is fine, but that's going to need to be doubled eventually. I think I have enough room here to do that, so I'm not too worried about it. Kind of interesting to see all my floating factories. Okay, so yes. Now, this is also going to be pretty tall because it's a lot that's going to have to happen in this. So this floor here, the top floor, is going to be heavy oil residue. The reason why I want that is because I'm going to need to use water towers to get the oil up here to begin with, and then so if I process it on this floor, then the products of this floor can go down. So heavy oil will be produced here. If I go down another floor, we have fuel, which will be apparently I've been at this for 6 hours. We have the diluted fuel floor, which will convert the heavy oil into fuel. And then we can go down a little bit further. This is going to be the floor that petroleum coke is going to be made on. And just fall. Then turbo fuel. Then like plastic and rubber. And then finally burning the fuel. I want this to be at the very bottom because it is the final destination of everything. It's also going to be the highest priority. So I want everything to go down here. I want this to have the pick of the litter for the fuel. And then very bottom floor, trains. Any sort of trains that I need. Let's see. As for connecting it to the rail network, right along here is kind of a natural road. I think I'm going to use that. Probably connect it along here. Either have it go up here and actually no, it'll be right here because I have the rail right here. Yes, so probably have like a roundabout or something like that here, and kind of just go right up there. I might even follow the road in the other direction and have it come over here and then connect to the rail here. Okay, so I have made some real progress on the new power plant in the background over there, but it's currently on hold because that's the wrong button. Oh, that was the correct button there. Because blenders require 20 motors, and I need an absolute crap ton of blenders. I can't remember what the exact number is off the top of my head. I could calculate it, but I didn't think to do so beforehand, and I'm feeling lazy. So I need a crap ton of motors for that, and also the fuel power generators require 15 motors. And I know for a fact that per line I need 120 fuel powered generators. So that's a lot of motors. I've decided that I'm not going to have the factory be the full set of 8 pipelines to begin with. I'm just going to start with the 3 that we have close by. So that's 360 fuel-powered generators, and I have no idea how many blenders off the top of my head. it was like 22 per line, actually. So that's quite a bit. So by my calculations, it requires 3 of these storage containers full, which is why I've kind of upgraded the buffer to 3, which I need completely filled. But if we look at the base recipe that I was using, you'll see that it produces 5 per minute, which is pretty slow. However, I wasn't actually getting 5 per minute, because if we look at the base recipe for the rotor, we can see that it's 4 per minute. So I was actually getting 4 per minute. So I've taken advantage of the huge flexibility of the starting Factorio style base, which is extremely flexible, and I can have materials that are made later on down the line easily just sent backwards. Is this making it? I mean, technically that is a part, but that's not quite the part that I'm looking for. Yeah, we don't really need to go all the way back there. So, what I have done is I have redirected the output for pipes, which is made significantly later on, sending it back to use this recipe here, which is significantly easier because just wire, the output of a single constructor's worth of wire, which, as you can see, the base recipe is 30 per minute, so that's perfect. Steel pipes, and gives you 5 rotors per minute, which is very nice. And so that brings us to the balance of the default motor recipe. So that with the default motor recipe, I can actually produce 5 per minute. Oh. So the default stator recipe is 5 per minute. The alternate rotor for the recipe is 5 per minute, and I just realized that the motor default recipe here is consuming 10 per minute. But that does not matter, because I have changed over to the alternate recipe for this, which uses only 3.7 per minute, which is significantly better and outputs 7.5 motors per minute, which is pretty great. All it requires is 1.2 crystal oscillators per minute, which is pretty easy to achieve, and is almost at the very end of my line here. But again, the extreme flexibility of the Factorio style base is that I can just simply send it back here, which I do. I have also used Sumer sloops to double the output to 15 per minute, which is pretty great. Now, actually, wait. Yeah, okay. Had to double check my calculations there. So, based on my calculations, at this rate, it would take me about 10 hours to fill these 3 chests, which is about what I need. I need these 3 full to complete that, to complete the remaining buildings that I need in the power plant. And it would take me about 10 hours to completely fill this. It has been approximately 2 hours, so we're doing pretty alright. But I kind of don't just want to sit here and twiddle my thumbs for the next 8 hours, so I want to take advantage of the fact that the other factories are kind of saturated right now, so they do not require more, well, they don't really require any power at the moment. or not much power, so I got a little bit of headroom there. I want to add to this. I want to start making the stuff required to unlock the next milestones. Should we come over here and have a look at the milestones? There's only 2 milestones left, but like this, we're gonna need to start making this, which requires aluminum cases and the and nitrogen gas. And I believe it's kind of the same here. Well, this requires heat sinks and nitrogen gas. I don't know what it actually requires to make the heat sinks at the moment. Okay, yeah, that's pretty simple. Okay, but this is going to require... Oop, damn it. Didn't mean to get stuck on that. This is going to require that I get both nitrogen and aluminum over to here. Now, the nitrogen is actually pretty easy, because, like, right here we have a source of nitrogen gas, and it's impure, so I don't have to feel bad about monopolizing it for my starter base, which is pretty cool. But the aluminum, getting that over here is going to be a little bit trickier. Now, the better way to bring that over would be by train, using a mixed sort of train style thing. Yeah, we have this space here. So, what I mean by that is having a train that is not dedicated to a single material, but rather has each car in it used for a different material. So, so like the first car would be like aluminum ingots, second car would be like the aluminum casings, then the next one would be like alclad aluminum sheets, and possibly like the fourth one would be something off the wall like copper sheets or something like that. But the problem with that, though, is in Satisfactory, when you're setting up the timetables here for a resource at a station, you can designate what material loads, but that is being applied to the entire train. So you can't, like, specify, like, this car gets loaded up with this resource, which is annoying, and I wish they didn't do it this way. I wish they would let us specify what material per car. And I can, like, open this up and I can sort it, but I can't, like, designate what material. And, like, the only way I can even specify what gets loaded on from the train car is to just simply load it up with that material. So if I try to take a train that has 4 cars to one of those stations, it's all going to get loaded up with a single resource. Now, in my pre-release world, there we go, I did come up with kind of a solution to this, which is, instead of having one station per thing, so instead of having one station and 4 freight cart loaders per station, I would actually have 4 stations and 1 freight car loader. So, let's just build up a mock-up real quick, so you can kind of see what I'm saying. So instead of 1 station and 4 freighters, it'd be 4 stations, and kind of in this case it'd be like a space here, and then 1 freight car loader. And then I would have like my resource in this one freight car. Also, I'd actually have like an additional 3 spaces here, just so that way I could fit the whole train in the station regardless. So I'd have my one resource in this freight car loader here thing. And then whatever car that I wanted to load up would be designated by the station. Like, this would be car 1. This would be car 2. This would be car 3. And this would be car 4. This would allow me to kind of selectively piecemeal which car that I want loaded up by sending it to whichever one that I went. And it didn't save the name. Screw you then. For the demonstration, I'm not going to worry about it. So, to load up the first car in the train, I would send it to car 1 with a resource. So I'd have like these stations kind of scattered about in each of the things filled up with the resource. Yes. So if I wanted like the first car to be full of rubber, I would have it go to rubber 1. And the second car would be like aluminum sheets. It would go to aluminum sheets 2. So on and so forth. This would kind of allow me to do that for my starter base, or places where I didn't need a whole lot of a particular resource, but rather needed a variety of different resources. That would be the best way to do that, but I think the easier way to actually do this would be to use drones. Drone and drone ports. Now, in my pre-release world, I used drones sparingly because they required batteries as a fuel source, which made them almost completely useless, because batteries were kind of a pain in the rear. But now they can I just have this fucking thing here. Drone ports, right. So now in the most recent release, or in the final release here, in the 1.0 release, drones can now use other materials for fuel, which makes it viable to actually use them. Can I drop a drone port here? What am I missing? Oh, okay. Ooh. Well, actually, no, that can show. So I am missing radio control units to do that. But now that they can use a bunch of different fuels, I can actually like load them up with like regular fuel. I probably won't use turbo fuel on this, because turbo fuel is actually really slow to make in this. Yes, so regular fuel would probably not be a bad use for this. I don't know where my regular fuel is, but I can just add that to the line here and then use that to bring aluminum over. Okay, so because this is kind of at a weird angle, I can't neatly put like foundation on it, unfortunately. So we're just gonna have to deal with it as it is. And also because the vents have such a large hitbox, this bit meat is forever lost to me. I can't even crouch down to pick it up, which sucks. Alright. But should be easy enough to get the resource well set up. Just do this. And let's get this started. kind of a neat starting animation. I have no idea why they would have like the arms like that with hands that move like that. It seems kind of dumb to me to do that. But that's how they animated it. Alright, so grab a resource well, rotate it something like this. Okie dokie. How much is this outputting? 600 or 60 per minute? That's not really a lot, but we don't really need a lot, so that's fine for the moment. Just do this. Can I? Oh, perfect. Oh, right. I need a more nitrogen color. Yes. I think there was something else I wanted to say, but I can't remember what it was at the moment. I can't put overclocks on this, can I? No, I cannot. So the overclocks would have to be on this. Right, there we go. Yes, this would have to be what is overclocked. Which actually probably makes this a lot cheaper to run. How much power is this thing consuming? 150 megawatts. Respawning lizard doggos. What? What does that mean? What? Keeping the cogs turning. Working, sorta. Feeding the developers. They don't need to eat. Respawning the lizard doggos. Okay. That's interesting. Well, potential. 600... Wait. Is that, like, divided between all of these? That's interesting. I don't know what exactly that means. But yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and find a more appropriate color for this and run it all the way to my base. Okay, so my Factorio style base has hit an interesting snag. And that is, I've gone about as far this direction as I can really go. I mean, there's still more space, but I need that space for other things, and not too far off is the kill plane. So I don't want to touch that. But the advantage that my Satisfactory has over Factorio is that I can go up. So I've decided to kind of fold my starter base in kind of on itself. And for new stuff that I add to the starter base, I'm going to be going that direction instead of that direction. Starting with this. This is going to be how I'm going to get aluminum ingots here. I've created this kind of blueprint so I can slap down more of these in the future if I need. And using packaged fuel as my fuel. So from this I should be able to go to aluminum ingot. And then return. Yes. Let's see what information we got. Okay, so 72 per round trip. I think it has 100 in it, so that's probably fine. Oh, there it goes. I find it kind of interesting that it just goes along the ground like this. Where the heck is it going? Alright. Oh, interesting. It went underneath the little bridge thing that I've got there, the little sky bridge. Let's see if I can get to a spot where I can actually see the destination. Back in the pre-release, it would go over my little sky bridges, so it'd be funny to just kind of see it go to a spot, and then for absolutely no reason just shoot straight up in the air, then go forward a little bit, and then drop right back down. I don't even see it anymore. Oh wait, no, I do see it. I thought that was a bird. Can't really see it, but there is a drone port right there. Oh wow! My hands. They're all wavy and wacky, and I don't think it likes this. That's clearly got to be caused by some sort of float point error. Like, is it trying to render the hands? Oop, 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 oop. Yeah, okay, that is interesting. But it's doing that with the hands. Okay. So, how I would render the hands is I would have that as a separate rendering pass, more or less, that would be done on top of the existing render. But it seems to be it seems to have them in the same sort of in the world. So it's actually distorting the hands to try to stay in the same spot within the view frustum. That is fascinating that they chose to do it that way. It might be a limitation of the engine, I don't know. But that is an interesting way to do that. And it hath returned. Oh, did I just see it deploy something? Now that these things use more than are able to use fuel sources other than batteries, it's amazing. They're going to be significantly more useful now. I'm trying to click on this. I wonder if it's possible to have it go between multiple stops. So like this will go to there and then go to some other stop for maybe refueling or something like that and then return. I don't know. Let's see, round trip 72 units per trip. 18.89 per minute, and I think this is this a full round trip time? That is a round trip time of 4 minutes and 32 seconds. At least yeah, it's got to be 4 minutes 32 seconds. That's no way that's an hour's en route. Cool. Okay, I kind of thought it would be fun to watch it dock on this side as well. And that's kind of cool. Oh, it doesn't send all of it at the once? Whoa. We're going for a ride, apparently. This wasn't even intentional at first. Ooh. There it goes, and there we go. I don't think I'm going to be able to make it all the way. Nope. Nope, 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 nope. Okay. Oop, dang it. Keep pressing caps lock. Okay, so... So what I did to hook this up is over here, I used my 425 splitter that I created, and I put a little splitter where the dimensional depot was designed to go. I moved the dimensional depot back a little bit onto another pillar so that I could have a line going to it and over to this industrial storage container, which is used as a bit of a buffer for the aluminum ingot station. I'll probably add another one of these for the alclad aluminum sheets up here. Because I'm going to need those to make what are those things called? Heat sinks. Yes, I believe that is. Oop, there we go. Yeah, so that's used to make heat sinks, which would probably be good to have access to. Alright, so this was a big, long, complicated build that I did entirely off camera just because of how big and long it took me to do this. I've been at this for like 3 days now, and I don't even know if it's gonna work yet. In fact, am I seeing issues? No, because, okay, yeah, no, this is the heavy oil production. Okay, so... starting off, we have heavy oil production. Crude oil is going to come in here and get converted into heavy oil and resin. I don't really have a use for the resin at this time. I'll get to that eventually. I'm eventually going to have it so it makes plastic and rubber. But for the time being, just so it doesn't get clogged up, it's all going into the shredder. This build was so big and complicated that I was having problems keeping track of what pipes should go where, so I kind of started marking everything, but with colored walls. These colored panels here, so I could keep track of it while I was building. Yes, so, okay, heavy oil. That goes down here to diluted fuel. Now, by my calculations, it only requires about 3 of these blenders to convert all the heavy oil that we'll need for power into diluted fuel. But I made enough blenders here to actually convert 100% of the heavy oil that we're producing into blended fuel. Now, to avoid the issue of it converting all of it into heavy fuel and not being able to generate power then, I have the pipes set up like this. So the heavy oil will actually go down, and only when it completely fills up what's underneath of it will it back up into these pipes and actually start turning into diluted fuel. So if we go further down, we have, what is this? Oh, this is the coke. This is making coke, yes. So separate oil nodes are feeding these, which will make coke and resin. Again, the resin is just being ground up because I have no use for it at this time, and the coke is being passed down to, this is where plastic and rubber will be. Yeah, you know, I'll just cover this real quick. Whoop. We auto-saved. That startled me for a second. Anyway, so I'm eventually going to have the resin and excess diluted fuel come onto this floor. Originally, I had like this below the turbo fuel production, but then I realized that'd mean that the plastic would have a higher priority over the diluted fuel than the turbo fuel production, which is kind of a bad thing. So moved it like this. I'll eventually set it up so the pipes are kind of like up there, so that this gets this does not get priority over the diluted fuel. Yes. And then now, finally, the turbo fuel. We have phosphorus coming in here, as well as all the stuff above. Again, once the heavy oil here completely saturates this entire floor, then the heavy oil will back up there and create the diluted fuel, which will come back down here to create turbo fuel. And then the turbo fuel will come down to these fuel generators. There is 100 and oh geez, how many? What I want to say 186. Is that right? Is that correct? Is that okay? So 184. I have 184 fuel generators here to consume the turbo fuel. With there being 128 per row here, which, as you can see, I have kind of stacked up like this to reduce the amount of size they take up. Well, mainly to make them all fit on a single square, so I could throw them into a blueprint, like so. Yes. Okay. And what's under this? I don't remember. Trains. Okay. I don't really have any trains currently set up, but as you can see, we got plenty of space for them when I do get to that point. Okay, so for the water, I made a whole bunch of these water pumps. I made more than I need. If you look here, you can see that's a 3x3 grid of water pipes that are coming from this. They don't actually need to be completely full, but I want them to be full anyway, just so that way I have that extra headroom. And so that's 9 pipes. Each one needs to be completely full, or at least I want it to be completely full, which means 5 pumps each. Which means I only needed like 45 water pumps, but I kind of screwed up my math and made about 80 before I realized my mistake. I'm going to leave the extra ones there for now because I'm probably going to want them later on. And for the oil, I have these 3 pure nodes over here. Well, that pure node, that normal node there. So the pure nodes go on these 3 pipes, and I have 2 normal nodes that are overclocked connected to this pipe here. This pipe is going to make coke, and these ones are going to make heavy oil. Also, to try to differentiate the pure node pipelines from the normal node pipeline, I tried like coloring the rings differently. You can see I have a cordium finish on the pure nodes and a sort of silver finish on the normal node. And I also colored the pumps themselves like that. So pure node is gold, or cordium, or caterium. That's how it's pronounced, caterium. And the normal node there is painted silver. And I've also grabbed these 2 pure nodes up here, and this normal node, which was going to my base, I have redirected it to here to join up with the other normal node to go make coke from. And I've overclocked this impure node, and now that's going to my base. Okay, now for sulfur, or phosphorus as I keep incorrectly calling it. I don't know if I actually incorrectly called it that on camera, but in case I did, I meant sulfur. So, I kind of lazed out instead of going and grabbing the three pure or 3 normal nodes. I grabbed just these 3 nodes here. We have a pure, a normal, and an impure. I've overclocked them all, and I've got them going to this load balancer here, which I don't think... Whoa. Physics? Okay. Alright, so I have them going to this load balancer, which I don't think is actually load balancing all that well, but that's fine for the moment. And this is not actually going to produce the amount of sulfur I need to run that, even when I get the Mark IIIs out here. This is going to maybe be able to run 2 lines with Mark IIIs, so I'm going to have to revisit this later on, but for now I just wanted this project done, so I just grabbed these 3 and called that good for the moment. I'll revisit this some other time later on. Oh, also, the reason why I have the load balancer here is to kind of pretend that they're the same tier of nodes, to kind of evenly distribute the resources out. This is all just temporary, and 3 belts are more to simulate 3 belts going to the base than actually 3 belts going to the base. If that makes any sense. It probably doesn't. I don't know. It's just what my brain came up with. Okay, so now let's talk about the control panel, or the control area. Ooh, the control area here. I've been kind of trying to make use of this idea in previous factories, though they kind of didn't quite land the way I was hoping it would, and quite honestly, I'm not sure this one does either. I don't think I explained my whole concept behind it, though. The idea is that I use these tower things kind of sunken down in, as both kind of a long-range power connection, and I can easily zipline on. So the idea is that, let's say I want to go to the mines or the pumps, or, you know what, let's find something else. The fuel blenders. I want to go to the fuel blenders. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Oh, wait. Oh, it says it has it written on the back too. Cool. Okay, I didn't even realize that. Okay, so go to the other side here, and foop, and this should take me to the fuel blenders. Although I think the fuel blenders path is got an issue with it. Yeah, this is the one that didn't quite work too well. It knocks me off here. Wait, is this the one? Yeah, because this is too steep. Yep. So ideally this would take me to directly to there without having to do that, but I can readjust there. That's not an issue. That line will take me all the way to there. Easy way to kind of get around my factory. And also master switches here so I can control everything. Now, this new design, the reason why there's a whole bunch of unused switches and power poles that will probably never get used is because I've finally thought to turn this into a blueprint. Where is it? There it is. Okay. Come on. Stop fighting me. I don't know why it's fighting me now. There we go. So I can reuse this over and over again. And iterate upon the design further. Alright, so now we need to figure out how to turn this thing on, how to get this thing started. I've gone through and turned on the first row of every floor. So that should tell us that, okay, we need about 3,000 megawatts of juice to turn this thing on. But right now we only produce 4,000 and we're already consuming about 2,000 of that. So, we need to come up with a way of dealing with this. Let me just write down that number here. So that's 3068.3. Okay. So, the way I'm kind of thinking of dealing with this is with batteries, which capacity is 100 megawatts. So, if I divide that previous number by 100, I need about 30 of these batteries, which is a lot less than I was thinking I would need, fully charged up to kick this thing on. Okay, I have now made what I think is an adequate number of batteries. I think I calculated that I needed 30, so I naturally made 144. And I have them connected here. Just to speed up their charging, I'm going to disconnect that and reconnect this. And I suppose not reconnect it, but I'm going to connect that. So now it's just all 100% of the power is going straight to the batteries. So, if I'm reading that right, it's estimating about 5 hours to completely charge this up. Yeah, approximately, it's going to be about 5 hours. Okay. Okay, so I was standing around watching the timer, and I kind of realized I didn't want to sit there for 5 hours doing nothing while my battery's charged up here. So, I re-enabled power to my base, and I completely forgot that I have fuel generators in my base to burn off excess fuel. Okay, so that's why the fuse blew when I flipped that switch. Anyway, I went and automated some more things in my little starter base here, and I thought, well, I want to unlock some more milestones. Okay, that autosave completed. So we're gonna get to leading edge production, which will allow me to create turbo motors. Doot 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 doot. Wait. Hi. Dude.
The Miner Mark III provides top-of-the-line resource extraction potential, making it even easier to contribute to project assembly. Project part number 8, the thermal propulsion rocket, is the most complex project part of this phase as it requires turbo motors, and thus requires your best. Fix-It didn't think pioneers such as you could get this far. I am glad we have both proven them wrong.
Alright, in about 5 minutes I'll unlock the next one. While I couldn't make turbo motors, I did find 50 out in the wild. So now I can make them, but I don't need to. Or at least, I don't need to unlock this. Okay, the thing returned while I was getting myself a drink. So let's go ahead and quickly unlock the final milestone. As soon as I can get down there, there we go. Particle enrichment.
Milestone reached. Project part number 9, nuclear pasta, can be created in the particle accelerator. The accelerator has vast and fluctuating power demands, depending on the recipe, so will need careful integration with your factory. Fix-It does not waste, so nuclear waste can be refined by the particle accelerator into plutonium for reuse in the nuclear power plant. Fun fact: Fix-It psychologists suggest factory designs reflect the minds of their creators in unexpected ways. On an unrelated note, your infrastructural choices have been interesting.
Yeah. Alright. Oh, the thing's gone for 20 minutes. Well, I've unlocked all the milestones for this tier, so that's perfectly fine. Yes. So next I shall automate a few other things. Okay, so I'm kind of getting a little impatient here. I calculated that I only need like 30 batteries. I built 144 anyway. And like 49% of that is like 70-ish, something like that. So that's more than double what we need, in theory, to actually get this thing up and running. So let's just turn it on and see what happens. And the nice thing about these priority switches is that I don't have to go all the way down to the control center to flip it on. That should have... Yep, that really jumped up power consumption. And see, it looks like it's estimating about 12 hours. Maybe? I don't know. It's hard to understand what that thing's trying to tell me. So, that's pretty alright. Looks like those are on. Of course, they won't actually be full because it doesn't actually let materials into a machine until it has power, which is interesting, I suppose is the word for that. But this is looking good. Wait. Don't want to leave that there. Alright, so nothing should be going over to here. Good, we have a flow rate of 0. Ooh, oh, okay. It was auto-saving. That startled me. This should be making Coke. Oh, it is? It is just... It's just the same color as the belt, so it's hard to tell. Okay, and that should not be making anything because it has nothing to make things with. Okay, what about you? Okay. It's filling up with heavy oil. It's already full of sulfur and petroleum. Well, almost full of petroleum coke. That's pretty cool. Though that is just the first machine. It's probably going to take a few minutes for it all to get saturated. But judge... What? We're producing more than we're consuming right now? Well, that's unexpected. Not by much, but... Okay, I'll take it. Sure. I have no idea how long it's going to take for this to do its thing. It's taking a bit longer to fill up with heavy oil residue than I thought it would. Because it seems like I'm producing a lot less heavy oil residue than I thought I would be. Why isn't that outputting the polymer... What? Oh, I forgot to plug this in. Okay. There we go. Plug it into that there. Okay, well, good, that'll start getting rid of the excess polymer resin. I don't think that was my issue, but prevent issues in the future. Are they all going? These ones down here don't look quite like they're going yet. Might just simply have not achieved saturation just yet. Yeah, so we're still not quite producing. This should have 600 units per minute flowing through it. So let's just come down here and have a little look-see at this bend here. Yeah, it's completely full. It's 600 per minute. Did I miscalculate somewhere? Because this feels like it's not making as much as it should be. $500 plus 200. Yeah, so we're making about 750. It looks like actually. It's actually not too far from where it should be. Okay, I think I just need to give this more time. Once the pipes down here get fully saturated. Oh, it looks like we may have achieved... Yes, it looks like we may have achieved saturation here of the heavy oil. Took longer than I was expecting, but it does seem to be saturating. Oh, did it just hit saturation? I think it just hit saturation here. Is this going to work then? That is full. That is full. Okay. This one's opening up. And now this one's opening up too. By the way, these pipes are connected at the very end there. So this one will start filling up the far end, and this one will start filling up the near end. And there it goes. We're making fuel. Okay, now the fuel gets output into 3 pipes. Should be these 3 pipes here. Eventually, I'll have them go to here to make plastic, but we only really need 1 pipe's worth for down here in the turbo fuel department. So I have them all kind of funneled up together like this to come down into the machines here. And we're making turbo. Nice! That means that we're probably making power now. Yes! This one is running. Nice. Okay. That is... well, it's probably charging battery, so it'd be burning at 100%. And power production's now up to 5,000, slowly climbing. Maybe it's climbing. It's not sure, but we have a positive number for the most part, maybe. So I think we're good. I think we're there. It's probably going to take a while for this to achieve saturation. I think I just saw another one kick on there. And that one turned off, apparently. Now it's yellow, and it's green. Oh, and the one down there turned off. Also, these 2 turbo pipes, while this one connects to these ones down here, and this one's connects to the ones up here, they do connect with one another at the very end. So if one has more than is needed for a row, it'll move on to the next one. Nice you. Let's see if I can... okay, cool, I can watch it here and here at the same time. Okay. It is time to throw down the space wonkavator. Let's see. How many holes does it have? 3. It's on this side, so one of them's going to have to go around, it looks like. How does this line up with things? Okay. Is that the only place where the holes are? Yeah, okay. Well, that's not too much of an issue, really. Toss that into there. This one can go here. Belt is too long. Okay. I'm just completely ignoring the animation. Shouldn't that be lowered before the carriage comes down? I suppose once it's held on, it probably doesn't matter all that much. There we go, and now to just toss in what has already been made. Cool. Wait. I didn't get any thermal propulsion? Interesting. Oh, I'll just let this run for a little while. Actually, you know what? Let's check on my power grid. We are at 52 megawatts right now. I'm not entirely sure the thing has saturated, so might get more, might not. I don't know, but that's plenty of juice for right now, I think. Okay, I'm back at the turbo plant, and as you can kind of see, I'm getting it to just almost 97 gigawatts of power. That's pretty decent. Not all the generators are on yet still. If you go into photo mode and zoom in, you can kind of see that some of the lights down there are still red. Not sure why that is, but I'm not going to worry too much about it. However, something I did notice that causes me some concern is if you look at the burn rate here. So this fuel has a 7.5 second burn rate. That's how many per minute is burning through. Has an 8-second burn rate here. And as you can see, this is taking about 8 seconds to burn through this fuel, which means that these things are consuming fuel regardless of how much power is actually being used. I distinctly remember them reducing the burn rate to be efficient and kind of match the consumption rate. So instead of consuming 97 gigawatts worth, they would have total consumed the 12 gigawatts worth of fuel, and they would just kind of pseudo underclock themselves to match with the burn rate automatically, so that they were efficient. I kind of also recall the coal being the same way. So for the release, they seem to have changed that. I don't know why. It might not even be intentional, it might be a bug. But that is concerning. I do recall them saying that they changed the way the fuel generators worked, but I thought that was they had increased the amount of power that they output or something. I didn't realize it would be that. This changes things, unfortunately, because it means that I may not have excess fuel to convert into plastic and rubber. Okay, so I left this running last night, and it looks like all the engines are solid green now. Which is pretty cool. And it looks like it has stabilized on 100 gigawatts, which is pretty alright. Also, I did some research into the generators constantly running, and apparently it was changed in update 4, and I just never noticed. I could have sworn update 8 they underclocked themselves, but apparently that got changed in update 4, and I just never noticed before now. And somebody in Discord even pointed out that if you read the thing, it even says it. Like, nope, not what I meant to do. I wish there was a way to select it, but if you look at that, it says caution. Always generates power at set clock speed. Shuts down if fuel requirements are not met. I just never read it. Coles does the same. Resource consumption will automatically be lowered to meet demands for the biomass burners, but the coal and fuel generators, I don't know why the coal generator is. So the fuel generator, from what I found online, the reason is that they want you to be able to use it as a sink for flammable materials, for flammable fluids. which does kind of alter my plans a bit. Yes. Oh, jeez. Even the nuclear. What? Oh, that's stupid. Why would you do that? Okay. Okay. No, that's stupid. Why would you do that? Like... Okay, so for the fuel and coal generators, I can kind of see that. Because they're not producing a harmful byproduct. But nuclear certainly is. Okay. Just trying to come up with a solution for fuel burners burning all of the fuel. And so I came up with this. Now, there's 128 fuel burners per row. I'm counting these two as a single row. And each one holds about 50 units. So that's roughly... Oh, what was the calculation? That's 6,400 units of fuel, which is about 3.666666 industrial fluid buffers. So what I thought I'd do is, instead of having the lines go directly to the generators, or the pipes go directly to the generators, instead they come down the ceiling and go into these fluid buffers here, which, as you can see, I have considerably more than 3. And I'm basically using a pump as kind of an on-off switch. An unpowered pump has about 2 meters of headroom, so as long as I have a couple of segments above it, when it's turned off, it won't be able to pump fuel up over this anymore, causing all the fuel made to be just stored in tanks. And I can control this with just a simple little toggle switch. As you can see, just doing that already has completely drained this. So now fuel will build up in the tanks and not go into the engines. And because the rows are not actually designed to fully utilize all the liquid, or it's each row is meant to burn like 900 units. I can't remember what the actual number is. Let me just look that up. Yeah, 960 units of turbo fuel, rather than the 1200 which these two pipes would end up containing from the backup, which means it'll quickly saturate the line. And I've gone ahead and just done that for all 3. This one I was experimenting with, so it was kind of off for a while, which is why we've got the fuel backed up here. This apparently also is like that, even though it was not off. Same with that. That's interesting. That shouldn't be that way. Maybe it has something to do with the height of the pump here. Maybe because of how high up the pump is, it's unable to do that. So I might need like a water tower. Well, what I'm saying is the fluid buffer is not imparting any additional like head lift onto the liquid. So only like liquids that are above where the pipe is here can actually get pumped up and over. So we're winding up with some left over. Maybe. So I might need to create like a little miniature water tower to get that little bit out of the tanks.